Rule 1: you must know the difference between an asset and a liability. And by assets, if you want to be rich, this is all you need to know. It is simple. It is a rule number 1. It is the only rule. This may sound absurdly simple, but most people have no idea how profound this rule is. Most people struggle financially because they do not know the difference between an asset and a liability. The rich people acquire assets, the poor and middle class acquire liabilities that they think are assets, said the rich dad. When rich dad explained this to Mike and me, we thought he was kidding. Um, were nearly teenagers and waiting for the secret to getting rich, and this was his answer. It was so simple that we stopped for a long time to think about it. What is an asset? Asked Mike. Don't worry right now, said the rich dad. Just let the idea sink in. If you can comprehend the simplicity, your life will have a plan and be financially easy. It is simple. That is why the idea is missed. You'll you mean we all we need to know is what is an asset is, acquire then, and we'll be rich? I asked. The rich dad nodded his head. It's that simple. If it's that simple, how come everyone is not rich? I asked. Rich dad smiled because people do not know the difference between an asset and a liability. I remember asking, how could adults be so misguided? If it is that simple, if it is that important, why would everyone not want to find out? It took Rich Dad only a few minutes to explain what an asset and liabilities were. As an adult, I have difficulty explaining it to other adults. The simplicity of this idea escapes them because they have been educated differently. They were taught by other educated professionals such as bankers, accountants, and real estate agents, financial planners, and so forth. The difficulty comes in asking adults to unlearn or become children again. An intelligent adult often feels it is demeaning to pay attention to simplistic definitions. Rich dad believed in the KISS principle: keep it simple, stupid, or keep it simple, super simple. So he kept it simple for us, and that made our financial foundation strong. Uh, so, what causes the confusion? How could something so simple be so screwed up? Why would someone buy an asset that was really a liability? The answer is found in basic education. We focus on the word literacy and not on financial literacy. What defines something to be an asset or a liability are not words. In fact, if you really want to be confused, look up the words assets and liabilities in the dictionary. I know the definition may sound good to be a trained accountant, but for the average person, it makes no sense. But we adults are often too proud to admit that something does not make sense. To us young boys, Rich Dad said, what defines an asset are not words but numbers. If you can't find the numbers, you can't tell an asset from a hole in the ground. In accounting, Rich Dad would say it's not just the numbers but what numbers are telling you. It's just like words. It's not the words but the story the words are telling you. If you want to be rich, you have to got to read and understand numbers. If I heard that once, I heard it 1,000 times from my rich dad. And I also heard the rich acquires assets, the poor and the middle class acquire liabilities. Here is how to tell the difference between an asset and a liability. Most accountants and financial professionals do not agree with the definition, but this simple drawing was the start of the strong financial foundation for the two young boys. This is the cash flow pattern of an asset, where from the balance sheet the asset goes to the income part of the income statement. The top part of the diagram is an income statement, often called the profit and loss statement. It measures the income and expenses, money in and money out. The lower part of the diagram is called the balance sheet. It is called the because it is supposed to be balanced, to balance the assets against liabilities. My financial mm, novices do not know the relationship between the income statement and the balance sheet, and it is vital to understand the relationship. So I asked earlier, my rich dad simply told two young boys that assets put money in your pocket, nice, simple, and usable. This is the cash flow pattern of a liability. A liability would would be considered expenses from the income statement. That now that the assets and liabilities have been defined through pictures, it may be easier to understand by definitions in words. An asset is something that puts money in my pocket, and a liability is something that takes money out of my pocket. It is really all you need to know. If you want to be rich, simply spend your life buying assets. If you want to be poor,